Apparently it does not like videos that are forever. Okay. Like I said, okay, so this is the second peg. We'll call this peg 1. Sorry, peg 1. Okay, stop being slow. Camera. Peg 1. Peg 2. Okay. So we're going behind this first peg. I mean, like we're skipping it. Why is this being so slow? Come on. Catch up, baby. Okay, going behind this one, and then behind the second one, and wrapping it around the front, and going through the middle of these 1 and 2, behind that first one, and then around to the middle again. And that's when you're going to stop, and where's my hook? So you'll see that, and you'll flip over 1, and you'll flip over 2. You can flip them in either direction. I've done both. But if you'll notice, what you're creating is a figure 8. Let me do it from this direction so you can see. So now you see the yarn is coming from this spot. Each peg will wind up getting wrapped twice. So it was coming from here, but now it's coming from here. It's hard to see. I know it's dark in there, but it is coming from the second peg. So we'll call this 1 and 2 again. Just, you know, the stitch is in a set of 2. So you go behind the 1, go to 2, go behind it, then wrap around to the front, come through the middle, wrap around number 1, and come back to the middle again. And you see you've created an 8, a figure 8. Maybe not in the direction that you would normally. And there's actually another way to do the figure 8 in the opposite direction, and it creates a slightly tighter version. And then there's things you can mix the E-wrap with this figure 8 and makes lacy stitches, all kinds of things. But for right now, this is called the figure 8 stitch. Again, it's coming from here. Here's 1, here's 2. Behind 1, behind 2, around the front of 2. Through the middle, behind 1, and then back around the front of 1. I mean, you make a figure 8. You basically skip the 1, go behind the 2, and wrap around and make a figure 8. And this again has like super awesome rhythm. And once you get in the groove, it's like super fast. It's not super fast when you're holding a camera in your scarf and you're trying to precariously do this. But at any other given moment, it is. Okay? So, if you don't do it with your camera hanging from your scarf, you're good. Okay, that's figure 8. I'm gonna finish this row. And it may or may not be in focus or in the camera, but I'm just going to finish this to start a new one. I'm going to show you the mock crochet stitch too, which is seriously probably one of my favorite stitches, just of all. It looks gorgeous. It's a gorgeous stitch. It would make a beautiful baby blanket too. It's a gorgeous stitch. It looks exceptionally well with those twisty yarns. I mean, it looks great with everything, but it's a really great stitch, and it's easy peasy tofu squeezy, but it looks impressive because it makes a really nice stitch. Okay, that's figure 8. I've got a figure 8 blanket that I did actually with Fireside Super Bulky, which is Hobby Lobby's twisty brand of, okay, and then here, when you get to the end, if you're doing a flat panel, you can do this in the round. If you're doing a flat panel, you'll just want to do one last stitch at the end here to get your yarn to the right place. Okay, so that's figure 8, and that makes an open. Now, if you were using the appropriate yarn for this, it would actually not be, this open. It would be open, but not that open. It's just I mean, but you could totally, if you wanted like a super open scarf, you could totally use this thinner. You could use a number 5 on this really big thing and then do a flat panel, and that would make a nice like summer weight scarf with all kinds of yarn. That's the thing. You can just change it up. Okay, I'm going to now show you the mock crochet. Did I want it in this direction? Not really, but that's okay. Okay, mock crochet is, let's do, this is in counts of 3. We need to get you to the middle here. Okay, so you need to just knit that first one because we're going to work in sets of 3, and you always need your working yarn coming from number 2. So wherever your working yarn is, that is number 2. I'm going to show you this. Okay, so it's coming from behind. So what you do is you go, I'm traveling this direction, but your yarn is going to go backwards just for the first one. I mean, just for the first part of the stitch. Okay, so you've got the working yarn coming from behind 2. You go back to 1, behind 1, and then you come across the front of 1, 2, and 3. I am holding this yarn loosely. You cannot tell, but I am not pulling on it. That's pulling on it. I'm just holding it there. Not pulling it taut, just holding it. And then all I'm doing is boop, boop, boop. 3. 1, 2, 3. It's a flat stitch, basically, across 3. Now, and you're going to wind up knitting everything multiple times as you move along. Now, this is your peg 2. You see, we've moved over 1 because this is where your working yarn is. You're going to go back because you've already knitted this one in the last set. But now this is your 1. So you're going to go behind the 1 and across the front of 1, 2, 3. Just holding it. I mean, you don't have to make it floppy, but don't pull on the yarn. Just hold the yarn. And then you knit over all 3. And the thing is then it's basically impossible to lose your place on this because when, you know, don't ever stop mid-stitch. That'd be crazy. Do all 3, obviously. But wherever your working yarn is, that's 2. So you know, because your working yarn always moves. So go behind the 1, across 1, 2, 3. Flip them over. Behind 1, across 1, 2, and 3. And this, Speedy Gonzalez fast. And makes, now this yarn's not going to show it very well. But this makes a really nice stitch. It doesn't actually look like any real crochet stitch. Like if you look at crochet, there's no crochet stitch that looks identical to this. But when you knit this up, it gives a crochet-ish look. Just trust me. It's not, it looks more crochet than knit. So it's kind of the illusion of crochet. Again, this can be done in the round too. You just, and when you get your working yarn back to where you need it to in the round. But for a flat panel, you'll knit until, so I'm going to knit here. Because all the other ones have been multiply done, I usually try to do, sorry, I'm having yarn tangling here. I try to do one last knit. You could do it in E-wrap, or in this case, you could do it as a half stitch. Half stitch is where if you're at the end and then you come around, you're not E-wrapping, you're just doing it halfway, but it's the direction of an E-wrap. But you just knit over here, and that gets you going in the opposite direction. It's like a turning stitch. I don't know if you can see, again, it's a little bit looser because of this yarn, but you see how nice that edge is? That's that chain cast on. And, oh, we were chaining stitches, that's why. But this side, you can see, has got this kind of braided effect. And that's that slip stitching. We were doing other things over here, so it's not done it there. But that's okay. We've got this one ridge here. There's a ridge here, and that's the pearl. That's the pearl bump, as they call it. Just the ridge of pearl, because the pearl stands up. Okay. Now what do I need to tell? Oh, bind off. Okay. There's a few ways to bind off. My personal favorite way is the chain one bind off. I'm going to show you that. And it involves, hang on, a crochet hook. And what you do is, what do you do? Crap. Do I remember how to do it? I haven't chained cast off in a while. Hang on, give me a sec. Oh, you know what? I'm not going to show you that. I'm going to show you the basic bind off. Because I can't remember one thing about it because I haven't done it in a while. It's been a long time since I knit this hat. I finished it today, but I started in October. It's just really sad. Okay. So the first thing you're going to do, and this involves E-wrapping, is you're going to E-wrap, I'm in the opposite direction, this first peg. Now, hear me well. Do not knit tightly on your bind off. Keep your loops very loose. Looser than you think you need them, because this tightens up. Now, there is a way to make it a little extra to help. Okay, so you've knit this first one off. Now you're going to move this loop 1 over to loop 2. You can tighten it just enough to hold it on there, but do not tighten it a lot. Then you flip this over, the bottom one over the top. Okay. Now, a lot of people, they're like, that's it, I'm done. But other people, I'm going to show you the other version. Okay, this one, knit 1, sorry, E-wrap 2, this is the better version, okay, E-wrap 2, okay, now, move 2 to 1, just real loose, flip this one over the top. Now, if you want to make sure that it's really not tight at all, you can do an extra one in here. That makes a stretchier bind off. And then you move this loop back over here. All right, I'm going to show you that again. Now you don't have to redo this one. You just do 2. You just knit the second one. You only do 1 and 2 on the first. Flip over that one. Move this one over to here. Hold it. Don't pull it tight. Flip this one over that. And then you move this one back. The difference is in that second one, I didn't knit this peg again before I moved it over. And one gal, in order to keep it from being too stretchy, like stretchier than your cast on, she does them like every few pegs. Every few pegs, she'll do that extra knit. So like, here's the regular one. You knit this one off. Oh, this is so blurry. Why? Stop. Focus. All right, there we go. Finally. I think it's because I'm moving. Okay, so you've just knit that one off. You move that back to number 1 here. And then you knit this off. And then you move this back. Oh, it's finally not blurry, but oh, this is like I'm holding my body so still. Okay, then she'll do that for a while. La la la, you know, just binding off like that. And then every few pegs, she does them sort of evenly spaced. She'll like, count out how many pegs she has, and then she'll do it evenly, like, every 3 or every 4, whatever. That one, you knit off that one like you normally would. You move this back to that peg. You knit this off. But then you do another one. Then you wrap it one more time. And knit that off before you move this back. Again, you can do that extra one at every peg, but it's going to make it very stretchy, and it may be too stretchy. This is the side. This is the side. This is the bind off. Maybe it's too stretchy. I mean, like you don't want to wind up having your cast off end be bigger than your cast. I mean, your cast off bigger than your cast on. That's not any better. So a good sort of safe thing, if you keep your tension super loose. I cannot emphasize that enough. The first time I bound off like this, oh gracious heavens. Yeah, it was very tight. Let's just say it was really, yeah. And everybody says, what can I do? My bind off is so tight. I'm like, keep your loops super loose. Like looser than you think you should, because you're going to be like, this is floppy. Nope, it's just right. It's just right. So we're going to wrap this. I mean, I'm pulling just enough to like get it back into the shape of a loop, but I am not pulling it tight at all. And I'm moving that one back. In a couple more, I'll do an extra one again. This is super awkward time because I'm looking through the camera. You like my song? I do this all the time around the house. Seriously. I mean, like, I just bust into, like, crazy, random songs. Oh my gosh, I did this song the other day. I mean, it was long. Like, I had verses and everything. And it was like, I had a really good tune going on. I could not even remember what I was singing about. It was like, like cheese sauce or, like, the dishes or something really, really randomly crazy. I'm going to do an extra one again now here. But it was going on. I mean, like, I was singing this song for several minutes. And I got done and I was like, that was impressive. Timothy was just like, wow. I'm like, that was a good song. He's like, yeah, it was. I mean, it just like came out of nowhere. It was pretty hilarious. I do that all the time, but usually they're really crazy and I'm like forcing lyrics into, and they totally don't rhyme or anything like that. They're just crazy random. But now and again, a really good one comes out. And this is very slow, I know, and that's just because I don't have a good setup. I like a good setup. That would be good. A good setup would be good. Okay, I'm going to do an extra one again. At least this one's in focus more. Appears to be. Okay, you notice I did an extra one again. I'm not doing them evenly spaced. It'd probably be better to do that, but I'm not for this purpose. Because it's okay, because I'm about to unravel all this knitting anyway in a second, as soon as I get it off. Okay, so we'll move that one back here. Now, on the end one, you do knit one last time. And at this point, you would cut your yarn. You would snip your yarn somewhere over here. Oh crap, I forgot to tell you. I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. Then you would pull this through and then that would knot up. I'm not going to do that because I'm not keeping this knitting. Oh, what's the right side? Now this is the right side, but it's very hard to tell because this is a variegated yarn. This yarn is too small for what I did. You can see this is the bind off. Somewhere in here, well, these are some E-wraps, and then there's figure 8, and then there's mock crochet, which I know on this sort of all looks the same because of it's too small. But see, that'd be cute. Those little open stitches This one's figure 8 in there, I think. Anyway, so there you have a flat panel. Okay, now, here's your little tail. You're going to have to go back in and weave these ends in, but let me tell you a super good trick. Okay, hang on. When you've got this first on the loom, like here's your cast on, you just cast this on or whatever. And now you're back here. I forgot to show you earlier. Let's pretend these are all on the loom. And you're getting back to this first part right here. Okay. And then let's say you're going to E-wrap or knit, however, whatever you're going to do. You're going to have your working strand here at the same place where you started your cast on. And you're going to take this little tail and you're going to combine it with your working yarn. Here, let me give you an example. I mean, these wouldn't be separated like this. But let's say, here's your working. Let's fold it up so it'll be easier. Let's say here's your, these are cast on. It's like your first row. And you're take your working yarn and this little tail. And you're going to treat them as one. And you'll wrap. You'll have your little tensioner. Well, for this one, you'll have to hold this with the tensioner. And you'll wrap them together. And you'll have it'll be double strands. And then you'll just treat them as one. Now, there'll still be a little extra. I didn't make a very big tail. There'll still be a little extra sticking through. And you can weave that in a little bit. But that basically locks it in. So you don't have to worry about weaving it in to hold it in place. Like, that is going to lock in that tail. And then you can just snip it. Leave a little space because, knit stretches. So you don't want it to pop through. You want it to be long enough so that if the knit stretches a little bit, it's not going to pop through the front. This is the front, actually. And this is the back. But you can't really... Now, down here, you can tell this is where we were doing those other knits. And these are purls on this side. Because the purl is the back side. That's the purl. And those are knits in there. But this right here is a purl. This ridge. Okay, so I think... Wow! And all the knitting is undone. So I think that's all the big things. This is a lot to look through, but probably most of the important stuff. Well, except for the bind off is in video too. Sorry. But you can do this while you're knitting. Okay. Hope that helps. Okay. Yep. I'm just giving you a crash course in loom knitting. There you go.